I was on the night shift, something every police officer hates, but someone has to do. It was October 2019, a typical Tuesday in Ashland, Oregon, one of those cold nights where the fog clung to the windshield and you had to wipe it every 5 minutes. I was patrolling Route 66, an empty stretch, trees on both sides, nothing interesting happening. 11:30 p.m., maybe midnight. I don't remember exactly because nothing was happening to mark the time. That's when I saw her. A woman stood by the side of the road, arm raised, hitchhiking, wearing a grey coat that looked too old to even be vintage. Her hair was dark, long, and somewhat disheveled. I instinctively slowed down because, let's face it, a woman hitchhiking alone at midnight on a deserted road isn't exactly safe. I stopped a few meters ahead, turned on my hazard lights, and got out of the car. "Good evening, ma'am. Is everything all right?" I kept my hand near the holster. Basic protocol, you never know. She looked at me with deep, tired eyes, but not frightened. That made me feel relieved and uneasy at the same time. "I need to go to Mountain View Cemetery," she said, her voice hoarse, as if she hadn't spoken in days. "It's urgent." Mountain View was about 8 kilometers away, up the hill. An old place, a rusty iron gate, that classic horror movie look that nobody visits after 5 in the afternoon. I hesitated. It wasn't my job to give her a ride, but I also couldn't leave a woman alone there. "The cemetery closes at 6. "Ma'am, there's no way to get in now." "I know where to go." She didn't blink. "Please, it's about my son." That got to me. Son. Her voice broke slightly on the word. I sighed, looked both ways down the empty road, and against all protocols I should have followed, opened the back door of the patrol car. "Come in, but I'll leave you at the gate. I can't enter gated property without a warrant." She got in without saying thank you, sat up straight, hands in her lap. I turned back to the front, adjusted the rearview mirror to keep her in my field of vision, and started to climb the hill. The fog grew thicker. The trees seemed to lean over the road. "What's your son's name?" I asked, trying to break the heavy silence. "Daniel." Long pause. "Daniel Pritchard." I mentally noted the name. Pritchard. I didn't know anyone with that last name in the region, but Ashland had its mysteries, people who came and went without leaving a trace. "Is he buried there?" "She's waiting for me." The way she said it gave me chills. Not buried, waiting, as if he were going to be standing at the gate, waving. I didn't ask anything else. The road snaked, headlights cutting through the thick slices of fog, and when we arrived at the cemetery, the gate was closed with a thick chain and rusty padlock. I stopped the car, flashing lights against the black iron. "We've arrived," I said, looking in the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. I blinked, looked again, turned my whole body around. Empty. The door hadn't opened. I would have heard it. The patrol car's sensor would have beeped. I would have felt the cold draft. Nothing. She simply wasn't there anymore. My heart pounded, that kind of pounding you feel in your throat. I got out of the car, opened the back door, and ran my hand over the seat. It was cold, but there was nothing there. No sign that anyone had sat there. I grabbed the flashlight, shone it around, and yelled, "Ma'am, are you there?" Silence. Only the wind rustling the dry leaves. I should have left. My survival instinct screamed at me to get in the car and drive down that hill as fast as possible. But I couldn't, because if she had gone into the cemetery, if she had jumped the fence, I needed to know. I needed to be sure I wasn't going crazy. I shone the light on the gate. The chain was intact, the padlock closed. But next to it, in the barbed wire fence, there was a hole. Small, the size of a thin person writhing in pain. I shouldn't have gone through there. But I did. The Mountain View Cemetery was old, about 150 years old. Tombstones toppled, names erased by time, moss covering everything. My flashlight cut through the darkness in faint circles. I walked slowly, stepping on wet grass, avoiding sunken graves. The fog was so dense that I could barely see 3 meters ahead. "Madam?" I called again, my voice lower now, almost a whisper. I don't know why I whispered. Perhaps out of respect for the dead, perhaps out of fear of waking. Something. That's when I saw the light. A faint, flickering light, like that of a candle, came from the center of the cemetery. I followed, hand on my holster, heart pounding. The closer I got, the colder it became. It wasn't windy cold. It was cold from the inside out, as if the air were sucking the heat from my body. The light came from a gravestone. Someone had lit candles around it, 4 white candles, trembling in the non-existent breeze. And standing in front of the gravestone was her, the woman, her back to me, motionless. "Madam," I said, this time firmly, with an authoritative voice, "you can't be here. This place is closed." She didn't turn around. She didn't move. She just stood there, staring at the low gravestone. I approached, hand now on the gun's grip, finger off the trigger but ready, 3 meters away, 2, 1. I could see her breath condensing in the cold air, or I thought I could. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to..." She turned around. It had no face. I don't know how to describe it. There were outlines, the idea of a face, but it was like looking through murky water, indistinct features, eyes that might or might not be there, a mouth that moved but didn't move. I took a step back, tripped on a root, almost fell. My hand trembled, but I didn't draw my weapon because you can't shoot something that might not really be there. "Daniel," she said, and the voice came from everywhere at once. "He's waiting." I looked at the gravestone. The candles illuminated the words engraved on it. "Daniel Pritchard, 1992-2019, beloved son lost but never forgotten." That year, that month, I did the math quickly. October 2019. He had been dead for 2 weeks, maybe 3. "He passed away recently," I said, my voice faltering. "My condolences." She didn't answer. She simply disappeared. She didn't turn into smoke. She didn't vanish in a flash of light. She simply wasn't there anymore. The candles remained lit, trembling, and I was left alone with the gravestone and the oppressive silence. I should have run. I should have gone back to the patrol car, called base, reported something, anything, but I couldn't move, because at the base of the gravestone, where the withered flowers and old cards lay, there was something that shouldn't be there. My badge, not the one I was wearing, my old badge, the one I'd lost 3 years earlier in a car accident, the one that was never found. It was there, stained with dirt but unmistakable. Number 447. My number. I picked up. The badge with trembling hands brushed off the dirt. It was real, solid, cold as ice. And underneath it there was a note, yellowed paper, shaky handwriting. "Thank you for bringing her back. She needed to say goodbye." Signed, Daniel. I held the ticket, looked around. The candles all went out at once, as if someone had blown them out. Darkness swallowed me, and I ran. I ran like I hadn't run since the gym, jumped the hole in the fence, got into the car, started the engine, and drove down that hill without looking in the rear-view mirror. When I arrived at the police station, I didn't report anything. How was I going to explain it? That I got a ride with a ghost driver, that she disappeared inside the police car, that I found my lost badge on a recently opened tombstone. Nobody would believe me. They would put me on psychiatric leave. But I needed to know. The next day, during my lunch break, I went to the cemetery records office. I asked for information about Daniel Pritchard. To the cow lady who attended me, an elderly woman with thick glasses, checked the system. "Daniel Pritchard, yes. He passed away on October 10th of this year. Car accident on Route 66. She stopped, looked at me with a strange expression. "You know what's curious? His mother, Margaret Pritchard, died in the same accident. They were buried together side by side. My blood ran cold. The mother too? Yes. They crashed head-on into a truck. They both died instantly." She adjusted her glasses. "Poor woman. They say she was driving, trying to get her son to the hospital. He had overdosed. She was desperate." I thanked them and left. I went to the cemetery during the day, this time through the main entrance with permission. I found the 2 tombstones side by side. Margaret Pritchard, 1968-2019. Daniel Pritchard, 1992-2019. Mother and son. Died on the same day. I knelt before the tombstones, placed my hand on the cold earth, and that's when I understood. She hadn't asked for a ride to visit her. son's grave. She had asked for a ride home because the two of them were there together where she always wanted to be, by his side, protecting him, even after death. I left flowers on both tombstones, white carnations. I don't know why I chose carnations. It just felt right. And as I was leaving, I felt a hand on my shoulder, light, almost imperceptible. I turned around quickly, but there was no one there, only the wind swaying the trees, carrying the scent of wet earth and dead leaves. I never patrolled that road at night again. I asked for a route transfer, made up an excuse about better hours, anything. My boss accepted it without question. And every time I pass near the Mountain View Cemetery during the day, with the sun high and the sky clear, I look at the iron gate and remember the woman in the grey coat, the empty back seat, the candles that went out on their own. Some people say ghosts don't exist, that they're tricks of the mind, hallucinations, post-traumatic stress. I used to believe that, but now I know differently, because I still have the badge I found that night. It's kept in a drawer in my house, locked away, out of sight, and sometimes, on foggy nights, when the wind blows against the window in a specific way, I swear I hear a voice, a mother's voice, saying, "Thank you. I never told this story to anyone at the precinct. It would have been the end of my career." But 3 months after that night, a colleague of mine, Officer Davis, stopped me in the hallway. He had a strange expression, like someone who had seen something he couldn't explain. "Have you ever patrolled Route 66 at night?" he asked in a low voice. I feigned disinterest. "Already? Why?" "I got a ride yesterday, a woman in a grey coat, asking to go to Mountain View Cemetery." He paused, looked around to make sure no one was listening. "She disappeared from the back seat, just vanished." My stomach churned. I placed my hand on his shoulder and squeezed tightly. "You did the right thing to help," I said. "She just wanted to go home." Davis looked at me confused, but didn't ask anything else. And I didn't explain, because some things have no explanation. Some stories don't have a happy ending, only acceptance. And some souls don't rest until they are sure their loved ones are at peace. Margaret Pritchard wasn't asking for a ride. She was looking for someone who understood, someone who would take her back to the only place she could be with her son. And for some reason, that night, that someone was me. I don't know if I believe in God, in heaven, in hell, but I believe in love, the kind of love that doesn't end when the heart stops, the kind of love that transcends death, logic, reason, the kind of love of a mother who dies trying to save her child and who, even afterward, continues searching for him. If you're ever driving down Route 66 in Ashland, Oregon on a foggy night and you see a woman in a grey coat hitchhiking, don't be afraid. Stop. Ask her where she wants to go. And if she says Mountain View Cemetery, take her there, because she's not lost. She's going home. And maybe, just maybe, you're the person she was waiting for to close this chapter, to allow her to rest, to say goodbye the way she never could when she was alive. I still think about her. Every time I see a mother with her child, every time I pass a cemetery, every time the fog descends and the world becomes too quiet, and I wonder, how many other Margarets are out there? How many other spirits trapped between worlds, searching for one last chance to be with those they love? I don't know the answer, but I know that that night I wasn't helping a stranger. I was part of something bigger, something that science can't explain, that logic can't grasp. Something that only exists when you accept that the world is stranger, deeper, more mysterious than any police manual teaches. And if you don't believe it, that's okay. I didn't believe it either, until it happened to me. In the following months, I began to research. Not officially, of course, because I couldn't raise any flags at the police station about paranormal phenomena without becoming the laughingstock of the entire department. But in my free time, on weekends, I would scour old records, talk to elderly people in the city, and frequent the municipal library looking for any mention of the Pritchards. What I discovered disturbed me even more. Margaret Pritchard wasn't from Ashland. She had moved there in 2015, fleeing an abusive relationship in Seattle. She brought Daniel, who was 23 at the time, and the two started over. She worked as a nurse at the local hospital, sometimes double or triple shifts. Daniel had struggled with drug addiction since adolescence, a problem exacerbated by his violent stepfather. Margaret spent all her resources trying to get him into rehab clinics, therapy, and recovery programs. Nothing worked for very long. On the night of the accident, Daniel had called her at 2 in the morning. He was in a cheap motel on the outskirts of town, having taken a massive dose of heroin mixed with fentanyl. His chest was tight, his breathing was failing. He was afraid of dying alone. Margaret didn't think twice. She got in her car, still in her nurse's uniform, and drove like a madwoman down Route 66 in the heavy rain. She wanted to get him to the emergency room. She wanted to save him one more time, because that's what mothers do. They don't give up. Never. The truck driver who hit them told police he saw her car veer into oncoming traffic on a curve. He tried to brake, but there wasn't enough time. The impact killed them both instantly. The medical report indicated that Daniel was likely already dead before the accident. The overdose had been fatal minutes before the collision. Margaret died trying to save someone who could no longer be saved. I found this information in a dusty police station file. An accident report filed away without much ceremony. Just another tragedy in the statistics. But for me, it explained everything. Margaret couldn't save her son while he was alive. So she remained trapped, reliving that night, searching for someone to take her to him, trying to close the loop that the violent death had left open. I also discovered something even more disturbing. Since 2019, at least 7 different police officers have reported strange encounters on Route 66. Woman in a grey coat, hitchhiking, disappearing without a trace. All reports were dismissed as fatigue, hallucination, stress. None were taken seriously, but when you put them all together, the pattern is undeniable. She was searching every night until she found someone who would take her all the way. I returned to the cemetery more times than I should have, always during the day, always with a made-up excuse. Sometimes I carried flowers, sometimes I just stood there, looking at the 2 tombstones side by side. And every time I went, I noticed small signs, new candles, that someone had lit and that shouldn't have been there because the cemetery doesn't allow candles due to the risk of fire. Footprints in the soft earth around the graves, small woman's footprints that disappeared after 2 or 3 steps. Once, I found a folded note under a stone, old damp paper but still legible. He is not alone now. Thank you. Same shaky handwriting as the first note. I kept that one too. It's in the same drawer as the badge. Davis never brought up the subject again after that hallway conversation, but I noticed he also requested a route transfer, and Officer Martinez, who took over patrolling Route 66 after us, lasted 3 weeks before resigning. He didn't give a reason. He just handed in his badge and left. I ran into him 6 months later at a downtown bar. He was drunk, red-eyed, hands trembling. "You saw her, didn't you?" I asked, sitting down next to him. Martinez looked at me as if I had read his mind. He nodded slowly. "She keeps showing up. Every night, always in the same place." He drank half a glass of whiskey in one gulp. "I stopped once, I let her in, and when she disappeared from the back seat, I swore I heard her crying, a low, desperate cry coming from the cemetery. I haven't been able to sleep properly since then." "She just wants to be with her son," I said. "That's all. Then why does she keep showing up?" Martinez slammed his glass on the table. "If she's already with him, why doesn't she rest?" I didn't have an answer, but that question kept nagging at me for weeks, until I understood Margaret wasn't just looking to get to the cemetery. She was looking for forgiveness. Forgiveness for not saving Daniel. Forgiveness for failing as a mother. And every police officer who stopped her, every person who showed compassion, was a piece of that forgiveness. A brick in the bridge she needed to build to finally cross over. In January 2020, the pandemic arrived. The world stopped. The streets were empty. The cemetery closed to visitors. And for months, no one reported any more sightings of Margaret. I thought that perhaps she had finally rested, that the cycle had closed. But in October 2020, exactly 1 year after that night, I was at home, off work, watching television without paying attention when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Silence on the other end. Weak, labored breathing. "Hello?" I said, already feeling a shiver run down my spine. "Thank you," a woman's voice, hoarse, distant, "for taking me home." The call dropped. I called back. "Number doesn't exist." I checked the call log. It was there. Duration, 12 seconds. Origin, unknown. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, lights on, gun in my lap, waiting for something I couldn't define. And when the sun rose, I made a decision. I took the old badge and the note from the drawer, drove to the cemetery and buried them at the base of Margaret's gravestone. I don't know why. I just felt it was the right thing to do. That she had returned the badge to me as proof, and now I was returning it as an offering, as a way of saying, "You didn't fail. You did the best you could. Rest in peace." Since then, I haven't had any more signs, no strange calls, no supernatural encounters, and the reports on Route 66 have completely ceased. Other police officers patrol that road now, and no one has seen the woman in the grey coat anymore. I want to believe that she finally found peace, that she and Daniel are together somewhere, beyond here, free from the weight of guilt and pain. But sometimes, on foggy nights, when I'm driving alone and the road gets very quiet, I still look in the rearview mirror, just to make sure the back seat is empty. Because I learned something that night that changed my worldview forever. Death is not the end. Love doesn't die with the body. And some souls remain trapped not because they want to haunt the living, but because they need something simple, something we all need. To be seen, to be heard, to be remembered. Margaret Pritchard wasn't an evil ghost. She was a mother who couldn't say goodbye, and I had the privilege of being part of that farewell. If this drove me crazy, if it destroyed my belief in logic and reason, I accept it. Because some experiences are worth more than sanity. And I carry this story not as trauma, but as a reminder that the world is vaster and more mysterious than any police academy teaches.